I really like your live streams. I really appreciate uh, what you do, doing them so often and leaving them up. And I wanted to thank you especially for uh, the Dear Dad video that you posted recently, because um, I hadn't cried in a long time, um, and then I managed to cry while listening to that, and it was
Oh,
really, it felt really good.
oh, that's
That's really
really, yeah, beautiful to hear. Yeah, yeah,
um I I think that what I want to ask you about is really it's a similar topic to what a lot of the questions you've been getting are,
yeah.
um, that you've been having to reply quite similarly about,
Yeah, I
working
mean, I
with.
think that's what talking in about non-duality is. It's like a repetition. And
Mm,
really, like the actual teaching is an energy that's happening. It's not really an energy like we imagine it, but it's like something calling beyond that. But then there is this human interaction, which is having relevance as well. So repetition
mm,
is the name of the game when you're expressing non-duality.
yeah.
So that's okay. I've got a very short memory. I'm blessed with a very short memory,
Okay.
like a fish, six
Lucky you.
seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Um, well, I I've got personal my questions to do with the person, which is
Yeah.
why I was prefacing it about it being a topic that you've had to give kind of similar answers about. But I wanted to know what you thought anyway.
Okay.
Um, uh, I, I really want to feel safe and secure uh, by myself.
Right.
Um, I've been I've been for a couple of years now. I've been uh, trying to overcome a lot of behavior patterns where I've got these real obsessive fears, and really kind of trying to avoid situations where I
Right.
think I'll experience, uh, you know, I don't want to experience real terror and real kind of horrifying um, feelings.
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
And I think nowadays through doing uh, a lot of yeah, a lot of work, I've got to a point where I feel quite safe, um, as long as I'm with friends or family, or even, to some extent, strangers. If I'm in a kind of busy
Hmm.
area, I feel some degree of comfort that
Yeah.
I'll be able to get somewhere safe.
Yeah. I'm happy to hear that for you.
And
Yeah.
I'm kind of, but I think there's this problem that as I've worked on expanding my comfort zone, I've reinforced the idea that I need one. And so now I was supposed to drive somewhere on the motorway yesterday, and uh, for a few days I was really apprehensive about it leading up to it, and I was just imagining this scenario of, what if my car breaks down and my phone doesn't work, and then I'm there trapped by myself,
Hmm.
stranded on the side of the road. And it was one of the scariest things I could think about, and I kept thinking about it kind of compulsively until it seemed real, and it seemed
Hmm.
like if I go on this drive, then I have to accept that
Yeah.
risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
have you worked one on one with someone about this?
yeah. I've worked with a few people, and I'm working. I've recently started working with a new one,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, I've done kind of, I'm I've done one round of CBT. I'm
Yeah.
on a second one now, and then in the middle of that, I had kind of multimodal, person-centered slash CBT. Uh,
Have you ever done any attachment therapy or trauma work?
I don't think so. No.
That's two things that you could write down and look into. So attachment theory. Do you know much about attachment theory?
Um, Only, yeah, not really.
Yeah, so that's a therapy you could look into. It's not, they don't call it attachment therapy. You can just look up attachment therapy and you'll learn about it. And there's also like trauma work, EMDR. But I don't know, I don't really know what's causing it, because it could also be, like compulsive thoughts happening. It could be so many different things that are arising. So I don't have the abilities to diagnose that or understand that. And I think it's beautiful that you're so open to exploring it. And I think that it's such an important thing that we talk about, like not just me, but community and society as a whole, because a lot of people are having these things but really suppressing it because it's not accepted in mainstream society. So I really appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah, I was thinking earlier how like, because I worry that that I'll be affected by something like this, or some form of this same root problem uh, for my life, for like my whole life, and I really want to um, find some kind of total resolution to it, and
Right.
be able to be somebody who can offer comfort to others and say that it's possible to be this this affected by something like this, and then uh, work through it, and then live a life that's unaffected by it eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know, like, so I don't know how possible it is for it all to disappear on the human level. Like, so our
Mm.
bodies have predispositions, but it might be totally possible, but it also might be something that reduces, and you have like amazing techniques and ways of dealing with it. But it's different from waking up.
Yeah.
So this body can have fears. It doesn't, I don't, not like that. I haven't, the conditions, the makeup of this body doesn't have extreme fears, but it does have fears that arise. So,
Mm.
for example, we've been trying, me and my partner have been trying to buy a house for the last few years, and we went and looked in one place, and it was near a really
Mm.
beautiful forest, but it was in like a bit of a rough area. And I love walking
Oh,
in the
okay.
forest every day, and I just didn't
Mm.
want to be living in a place where it was a bit rough and then walking through the forest as a single woman every
Yeah.
day. And that's like, that's maybe not so rational, because maybe a place, it's just, there's just as likely something negative to happen in a not rough area. So it's not really rational, but it's a conditioning that I have. And so
Mm.
but I have loads of techniques and ways of working with that if something does arise. So if I was in the forest and there was something that was scary that arose, I have different techniques I use to pass through the body in a quick way, with not leaving a permanent trauma, or not like it going through and being digested really well. And that's from years and years of working on it. But I don't ever really fully see me being slightly concerned about these things disappearing totally. I think that might be something that stays in my body forever, but that might be really different from what you're speaking about. But what I'm trying to
Mm.
say is there might be fears that remain in the body, but lesser, and with lots more tools that can deal with it. We don't know. But that's not the non-dual part. The non-dual part is recognizing a part in everything and all things that's already inherently free. And to me, it's a really important part of therapy recovery as well. So to me, when I went through therapy and did a lot of work on myself, I still work on myself.
Mm.
But when I did that, like, knowing non-duality was really liberating, because I was working on myself and knowing it's not me. So it's not you that is afraid that something will happen to you on the motorway, that you'll break down. And so there isn't a you there that is doing that. It's habits and conditions that are
Mm.
appearing, that are life's habits and conditions. So it's not yours. And that really helped me in therapy. But again, that's helping in therapy.
Mm.
The real freedom of non-duality is the recognition of this in every moment, that who you are now is totally free and expanded. So there is an element of you, even with the fears, that's beyond the fears, that might feel like it's behind the fears, but it's not really behind the fears, that's free. So you could say it's the experiencing which is free. So the body has fears, but the experiencing is untouched by the fears. Mm-hmm. And the recognition of this might reduce the fears, but that's not the point of it. The point of it is finding a freedom in fear or out of fear. Mm. And to me, that realization also dissipated fears, and this body-mind became more balanced with that. But it's really not the point. The point is the freedom in fear or out of fear. And it's that which is experiencing. And that experiencing can contain fear. Like that it can also contain peace and bliss and joy. It contains everything. It is everything. So right now, who does it feel like's looking? I don't know what your name is. It just says TT, I think.
Oh, it's
Thomas. So right now, does it feel like Thomas is looking, or is there a sense that there is something else which is experiencing?
I don't know if this like I can feel things I'm touching and I can see things I'm looking at, but I'm saying the word I am.
Yeah.
But it's not like there's a thing behind the word I'm that is like a description that's ready to refer to.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So there is this looking that's happening, which isn't contained by Thomas, and there's some form of sense of that that's beyond the intellect, that Thomas isn't containing looking. Thomas is appearing in looking, and then we can begin to break down what looking is. Like, where is looking and what is looking? So there is everything appearing now, and actually we can't find looking apart from everything. There is everything appearing, and it kind of is registering itself. So the wall is being known, the space is being known, the computer is being known, but not by someone. It's appearing and knowing itself because it's appearing. This voice is appearing, and there's nobody that's knowing it, but yet there is a consciousness of it, but it's nobody's consciousness. Consciousness doesn't belong to something. Consciousness isn't a thing.
I have this sense that when I scrutinize, when I investigate, or even just ask that question, it looks kind of obvious that there's just appearances, there's sensations, there's the movement of my eyes following the little moth in my room, but in all the time in between that, when I have an assumption that there's this identity, this kind of running program that thinks that it's afflicted by problems and has a whole load of things to do.
And that's really beautiful that this is being seen. This will change things on the human level, and then there is something that is beyond that, that's coming forward, that's waking up, even though it's never really been asleep, but it's seemingly been smothered or hidden by this claimer that says, I am conscious. So there's something else that's beginning to know itself as not a body-mind, as not a person, but it's not really like we imagine it is. Like, it's hard with words to really name it. And the more that is seen, the more it comes forward. So it's not an effort. It's just that identity holds on less to I am conscious. There is nothing consciousness. There is nothing conscious now. There is nothing which is conscious, yet there is everything happening, and it's knowing itself. So it's nothing and everything. And it's absolute love, that part of experiencing. It accepts every part of the fear of what's happening in Thomas, of the therapy, of working on attachments and safety. But don't, on the Thomas level that's exploring the fear, don't believe that that's going to fix Thomas. That's beyond Thomas. You feel totally empowered and free on the human level to work more on that, just like if you had a broken leg, because it's really the brain is producing it's not even miswiring, it's just that it's wired up in a particular way which is producing a lot of fear. It could also be hormonal, that disbalance of the hormones, which is producing a lot of adrenaline or a lot of cortisol. I'm always bad with these words. My 6 seconds memory.
Yeah. I wondered, when you were saying that you had a lot of techniques to allow an experience, a fear experience, to pass through you quickly pass through the body quickly without leaving behind a trauma. I wondered, the main thing the main attractor to non-duality for me when I heard about it last year was this concept of being able to detach from suffering in the person and being able to identify as the unconditional love, as the empty looking.
And that's most probably on the human level a form of avoidance. I know that sounds a bit harsh thing to say, but it's most probably like, oh yeah, this is really difficult to deal with in my life, and it sounds really wonderful that I can zone out into nothing and this will all stop. And that's a form of avoidance and not really understanding this, or there's a misunderstanding that's appearing. So hearing non-duality isn't intellectual. It's like your heart sings. It's like a knowing of something that you've always known that's beyond the person. And that's when you really hear non-duality. A lot of the time when we conceptually hear non-duality, it is about avoiding pain or psychological suffering in the person. And that's okay. That can be good. You can go to teachers and learn really amazing things and really help the person. But if you want to help the person, I would concentrate more on psychology. So some other therapies that I would advise you to look at is somatic therapy.
Okay.
Kundalini work.
Okay.
And but work with somebody. And like when I say Kundalini, I mean like chakra work. I mean there's lots of different, but these are good ones to work on as well. And tapping, which is EMDR as well, or rapid eye movement.
Are these all modalities that you've explored personally?
Yeah. I tend to only recommend what I kind of have explored, although not all the time. But like on my website, I have like non-duality teachers, and there's loads of brilliant non-duality teachers out there, but I just haven't really explored them. So I've just put on there the ones that I've explored, and the same with the psychology work as well. I've been doing this stuff for a long time. I've explored. Long is relative. And we don't really know about past lives. So it could be like millions and millions of years. In a way it is. And in another way it's no time.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, thanks Thomas for calling in and being so vulnerable and putting it out there. I really appreciate that, and I think a lot of people will have found what you brought to the table very helpful.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my call and your clarifications and recommendations, for like making this online space where I'm happy to be as open as this.
Yeah, thanks Thomas. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
A pleasure as well.
Yeah.
feel these things. Yeah. Yeah, lots of love to you.
Lots of love to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Nice, nice.